Alright fellas, now, Conor Benn. I've known about him for a hot minute, from the training videos to the explosive knockouts to the too many eggs thing. He's definitely been an interesting character, although his name became a lot bigger after his last fight, where Tank called him out and Conor Benn seemingly accepted. As there are so many new eyes on him, it made me want to discuss just how good actually is Conor Benn. Conor Benn is a British-born boxer who typically fights at either light middleweight or welterweight. He's the son of former two-time world champion Nigel Benn. His father had some notable wins over Iron Barkley, Doug DeWitt, and an unfortunate controversial win over Gerald McClellan, while additionally being known for his saga with Chris Eubank, which he'd end up coming up short in. After an amateur career with a record of 20-2 in Australia, he began his professional career in April of 2016 in London, defeating a Bulgarian who I won't butcher his name by first round TKO. What will follow is a number of matches against lower quality opponents on big boxing cards to help further build his reputation. One challenging fight in these early fights was against French boxer Cedric Pinaud. Benn to this point was on his way to build a reputation similar to his father's, but being a knockout artist. However, Cedric came out and dropped Benn twice in the opening round, marking the first time he'd be dropped as a pro boxer. He beat the count and managed to drop his opponent in rounds 5 and 6, with the fight going to the scorecards and being scored 57-54. After Benn had a few other fights, it was announced for the Dillian Whyte-Joseph Parker undercard that Benn would be rematching Cedric for the WBA Continental Welterweight title. Benn dropped Pinaud 3 times in this match, but he ended up going to the scorecards, winning on all 3 of the cards. His first big step-up fight would be against Sebastian Formella. Formella was a German boxer who at the time had a record of 22-1, and was a former IBO welterweight champion. Benn made easy work of Formella, cruising his way to a unanimous decision at the Wembley Arena. This was followed up by a strong win against Samuel Vargas. Vargas in the previous bout to Benn put on a solid performance against Virgil Ortiz Jr. Yet the fight with Benn only lasted 80 seconds and Benn knocked him out. In a post-fight interview, he would call out Amir Khan. However, quite obviously, never happened.
Give me a proper test. Give me Amir Khan. I know he's too busy on reality shows and all that. But listen, if he wants it, he can get it. Eddie, you got the phone. And your phone ready? Is it?
Amir?
We'll ask him, Amir, all of them.
Following a solid performance against Adrian Granados, he would verse and defeat former WBO junior welterweight champion and previous Errol Spence Jr. opponent Chris Algieri within 4 rounds. Then a second round win over former IBO welterweight champion Chris Van Heerden solidified his clout enough to then schedule a match with Chris Eubank Jr. Rumours of the potential fight between Eubank Jr. and Benn started circling around July of 2022, a match which was hyped because of their parents' previously very famous grudge match. Although they fought at different weights, a catch weight of 157 pounds was agreed and the fight was on, and it was billed born rivals. They were meant to meet on the 8th of October, however the British Boxing Board of Control released a statement on the 5th of October saying Benn tested positive for clomiphene, which is a banned substance. They said they weren't going to sanction the fight, and after Eddie Hearn saying the fight was still going to happen, it was ultimately postponed. This resulted in an investigation with hearings that Benn refused to go to, with him relinquishing his British boxing licence, which is a bit of a problem when mainly you only have a UK audience. Most people thought he would just get an easy blanket ban, but for some reason after a report was sent to the WBC, he was reinstated in their rankings, blaming the positive test on eating one too many eggs. WBC said he was all good to return to boxing. However, the WBC isn't a sanctioning body, and the BBOC didn't agree with this. Eventually, VADA would hand him a ban, but still, the BBOC to this day refuses to sanction his fights. But overall, Hearn and Benn didn't really care. There was talks about the Eubank fight eventually being potentially back on, but this never materialised. In this time period, he also went on to call out every single boxer, in and not in his division, and then he just pushed around Kell Brook. But back on track with the boxing, as he was banned in the UK, he had to go looking overseas for a fight. He would find this comeback fight against Rodolfo Orozco, or however you say his name, in Orlando, Florida. This was the first time he ever fought at junior middleweight, and won a very average unanimous decision win. Funnily enough, his opponent went on to have a positive drug test from a sample from this fight, returning a sample of a banned substance. This brings us to the current day, with Benn's most recent bout against Peter Dobson. Dobson was a decently strong US boxer, with a 16-0 record. With promises to knock out Dobson in the first round, the pair met in Vegas. With a lot of hype, the fight disappointed, with Dobson pushing Benn to a decision. Dobson did make it tough for Benn, although Ben would just end up winning in a clear, boring, unanimous decision. Although this fight made people question what happened to Ben's power, and many questioned this resulted in callouts from all over the place, such as fighters as Haney and Gervonta Davis. Davis seemed like the most serious callout, and Hearn even offered him $20 million, which he turned down. And as of recording, he seems to be fighting Frank Martin. Moving forwards, Ben is looking for a major fight to prove himself. One fight which seems very possible is Danny Garcia, who wants him at 154 in the UK. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pacquiao gets rumoured again. But with the variation in callouts and Ben willing to fight at whatever weight, it'll be a surprise to see what Matchroom and Ben's next move actually is. In my personal opinion, I think Ben's a solid contender, yet at only certain weights. The heavier he goes, the more problems he's going to have. Do I think he's ever going to win a world title? Well, potentially. It depends how politics move, but I would be absolutely surprised to see him one day have a win over a champion like Boots Ennis. It's just not going to happen. But overall, a solid boxer with huge pay-per-view potential. Anyway, we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on Conor Benn, and I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.